expand how you think of boundaries in your life today and reframe it as a way of teaching someone how to be in a relationship with you. This isn't about controlling. This isn't about telling other people what to do. This is about knowing yourself and what you need in order to thrive in the relationship. So you are helping that other person know how to be in a relationship with you. And it goes both ways.
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Perda. As a marriage coach who's married with 3 kids, I know how much parenthood could change a marriage. If flirting, laughing, and having fun together feels like a thing of the past, then I'm here to teach you that marriage doesn't have to feel so hard with your parents, and your marriage can thrive even when you're in the season of raising kids. Whether you're in a good place in your marriage and you just want to continue growing together, or you're wondering if you even like your spouse anymore, this podcast has something for you. Join me here each week as we dive into what it takes to help your marriage grow, and maybe even do a 180. You'll learn ways to handle conflict better, bring that spark back into your relationship, as well as learn how to improve other areas of your life from my lovely guest experts. Are you ready for the next stage of your life and marriage? Let's dive in.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. Today we're diving into boundaries. Boundaries can be an intimidating idea if you are not used to setting them. Traditionally, people think of boundaries as a way to keep people out, right? Kind of like a fence around your yard. You're keeping everyone who doesn't live in your home, everyone that's not welcome in your home, out. It sets a perimeter to block them out. But the kind that I'm talking about is the kind of boundary that keeps your marriage strong and connected. When I first heard the word boundaries, especially in the context of marriage, I thought it meant to build walls. But what I've learned is that boundaries are actually a really vital ingredient to building bridges in your marriage, to creating deeper respect, for emotional safety, and most importantly, connection. So in this episode, I'm going to dive into the top boundaries that every marriage needs, how to notice if a boundary is missing in your marriage, and what healthy boundaries look like in real life. So before we dive into all of that, let's peel back the layers and just define what boundaries are. I have a full episode on this actually, if you want to really hear me dive into this with another fellow marriage coach. It's episode 132. It's called Defining Boundaries. And also episode 134 would be a great one to check out because that's where we dive into boundaries versus ultimatums. Okay. But just very briefly, boundaries are not punishments. They are also not ultimatums. Okay. Boundaries are the limits that we set to protect our emotional well-being and honor our values in relationships. So by having boundaries, you are setting a strong, healthy, consensual, mutually beneficial foundation for your relationship. So this is what's going to help facilitate the growth of the relationship, the maintenance of the relationship. And without it, that doesn't get to happen. Okay. So much to a lot of people's misunderstanding, boundaries can actually help you continue to be in a relationship with someone, not just cut them out of your lives. Okay. So as you listen to this episode, I invite you to expand how you think of boundaries in your life today and possibly reframe it as a way of teaching someone how to be in a relationship with you. This isn't about controlling. This isn't about telling other people what to do. This is about knowing yourself and what you need in order to thrive in the relationship, so that you are essentially helping that other person know how to be in a relationship with you. And it goes both ways, right? It's healthy for everyone to have boundaries. So there's none of that codependent behavior. And it's just two individuals who are deciding to walk life together, be partners, and prioritize their relationship no matter what. Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about why marriages need boundaries. Okay. When you have boundaries and you are consistently honoring them, communicating them, enforcing them, reinforcing them, this is what helps prevent burnout, resentment, disrespect. It creates space for individuality and intimacy. So, separate lives and in connection with each other. It also helps each person feel emotionally safe and empowered. So, if you think about how you've traditionally thought of boundaries, these are not the byproduct of that kind of boundary, right? That's because that kind of boundary is not actually a boundary at all. It is more so a way to control people. And that's not what we're trying to do here, right? This is all for the sake of empowering the individual and your marriage, okay? So here are top boundaries that I believe every marriage needs. And we're going to break this down into essential areas where boundaries need to exist. So the first one is emotional boundaries. This means saying no and having that honored. Like, hey, I'm not ready to talk about this yet, but I will be soon. And not having that person force you to talk about things before you've had time to process it or before you've had time for your emotions to settle. That also looks like protecting your energy, right? Like if you're feeling drained, if you're feeling emotional, having your partner honor that boundary that you're setting, like, hey, I am just not feeling myself right now. I really am not available for this right now. I don't have the capacity for this right now. Can we pick this up at a later time? And this could be because of conflict. This could be them trying to talk about how awful their day was. This could be talking about something that they're interested in. These are all emotional boundaries, or even just how they are talking to you about how they feel, or how they are talking about how you feel. All of this is wrapped up within this area of emotional boundaries. The second one is time boundaries. Everyone prioritizing their own time for themselves, meaning time to take care of themselves, time together as a couple, time spent parenting, time spent taking care of the house, just time in general. How is your time allocated? How do you want to allocate your time? What are your intentions with how you want time to be used within the context of the life that you've built together? So, for example, hey, I would like a tech-free night once a week, right? Or, hey, I would like to have every Wednesday available for me to go play tennis with my friends or to meet up with my girlfriends. Or maybe your husband's like, hey, I want to go play golf every Friday, or I want to go to my friend's house and watch the game every other week, or something like that, right? That needs to be protected. And without that established, things start to feel a little crazy and hectic and unpredictable. And it could feel like there's a loss of connection as well as respect when it isn't clear and you guys aren't on the same page about how this time is used. The third one is conflict boundaries. This is about how we communicate with each other. What are the rules of engagement when we have disagreements, when we have arguments? What are we okay with? What are we not okay with? Like, no yelling, no name calling, no interrupting, no blaming, no criticizing. An example of this would be like, hey, I want to continue talking and I need to feel respected in order for me to continue to want to participate in this conversation. So this could look like, I'm feeling disrespected whenever I perceive that you are doing this. And I will not be able to continue being in this conversation until that ends. So if we need, let's take a pause, and maybe saying that will be enough of a reset, but it's also okay to actually execute on the pause and let things settle before continuing. The next one is family and in-law boundaries. And I'm going to lump friends in here too sometimes, because sometimes friends can be really involved, dare I say over involved. So these kind of boundaries look like how to handle people visiting, how long we're okay having them visit for, what are our secret bat signals to let each other know it's time to wrap things up, how late we want people to stay, what conversations we need support with, or who you don't want to be left alone with because they make you feel uncomfortable, even down to their opinions and their influence and what you are willing to share with them, right? These kind of boundaries help you guys make decisions together before these circumstances make it for you, right? So this can look like, hey, let's talk about things and make decisions together before we involve your parents. And for those who have really close relationship with their parents, they have been your confidant for ever, right? They've always been the people that you go to for advice. And the thing I want to offer you is, as soon as you get married, you have now broken away from that family of yours. Obviously, they're still your family, but you have now created your own family where you're the head of the family, right? You and your spouse. And anyone outside of you and your spouse and your kids is now your extended family. They are not your immediate family anymore. Okay? You guys are the head honchos. You guys make the decisions. And as co-pilots, you guys need to decide together, when do we seek outside advice and to what extent? Where do we draw the line? What do we ask? What do we not ask? What type of influence are we going to allow them to have? You definitely don't want your parents or anyone else inside of your marriage, but it is okay to seek counsel from other people as long as it's within that boundary that both of you set. So there isn't this imbalance of power or even unnecessary influence that has been put onto the relationship because the boundaries are too fuzzy, right? We've all been in that situation where either we or other people have only meant to do good, right? They've only meant to be helpful. But because the boundaries weren't clear, their intention to help ended up being hurtful, ended up being too much involvement, and ended up being something that you regret. Okay. The last one is more of a new thing, right? And when I say new, I mean over the last, 10 years. And that's digital and privacy boundaries. Okay. That's being transparent with each other, honoring the privacy of one another, right? Me and my husband, we have each other's passwords, but that doesn't mean we go sneaking around, right? It's more for ease of looking stuff up, okay, when was the last time we got this done? Or what was that one vendor's name that we used? Things like that. But we're not sneaking around into each other's accounts, right? But also hey, what level of screen usage are we okay with? And just agreeing upon what's a reasonable and acceptable amount of time that we use our devices, as long as it doesn't interfere with our connection and what feels respectful. So obviously, when we're eating together and we're hanging out, being on your phone is not the most respectful thing. It's also not something that's going to build connection. If anything, you're building a wall. It's like putting a wall right in front of your partner and saying, this thing deserves more of my attention than you do. Now, granted, I understand that there's like addiction when it comes to screens, but we have to also take responsibility for how our actions will be perceived. So if you are finding that you are addicted to your screen, then set up the necessary boundaries for yourself if you do have that. So if you're on a date, turn your phone off. Keep it in a different place where you can't easily flip your phone over and take a look. Or if you're at the dinner table, don't bring it to the dinner table, right? Or have do not disturb on during certain hours. There's lots of things that you can do to work with your awareness of yourself and not let it harm your marriage. Now, what happens when boundaries are missing? This is when resentment builds, your trust with each other breaks, and you start to feel more like roommates or enemies. And when this all happens, when there's a lack of boundaries, it can lead to recurring conflict and emotional breakdown and a disconnect in your emotional intimacy, right? So when you're fighting all the time because of a lack of boundaries, which by the way is very similar to parenting, right? If you're having a really tough time with your kids and you find yourself getting upset about the same thing over and over again, most times that is a sign of a clear boundary being missed, right? Whether it's not been communicated or it's not been reinforced, that's what's going to create this constant cycle of conflict with you and the kids. And this is very true for your marriage as well. So the lack of boundaries can create more conflict. And with more conflict, obviously, you're going to feel more disconnected. So here's how you can start setting boundaries together. Start with your self-awareness, okay? Notice when you are bothered by something. What do you notice when you are really happy about something when it comes to your marriage or even just your life at home and with your family? And ask yourself, what do I need more of? And what do I need less of? And then communicate it calmly, not during a fight. That is the worst time to communicate something that you need changed. Allow yourself to settle and then communicate calmly what it is that you are needing going forward so that you can bring forth your best version of yourself. Okay? That is the point of boundaries, is so that you can bring your best self. Now, this doesn't mean that anytime someone makes you mad, you need to throw up a boundary. Some of this is also being aware of yourself and what you may need to put boundaries around for yourself to help you be the version of you that you want to be for your family, right? So for example, if my kids are making crazy noises and I'm getting upset with them, did I get good sleep last night? Did I stay up too late and watch a show because I decided to do that, then get enough sleep? So there is a level of nuance with like, okay, is this something that I need to be more mindful of myself so that I can grow my capacity to handle very normal everyday occurrences better? Or is this truly a thing where I need to let the other person know like, hey, this is a boundary that I have. This is actually something that has me feeling disrespected or uncared for, okay? And then using I statements like, I feel overwhelmed when XYZ happens. Can we find a different way to handle this? Okay, I'm going to give you an example of what not to say, because a lot of times I've seen people use I statements and they're like, okay, I feel overwhelmed when you act like a jerk. No, that's accusatory language. So we want to remove the word you as much as possible. So if any time you are using an I statement and it sounds like there's any blame being cast, we need to try again. Instead, shoot for something like, I feel overwhelmed when the kids are constantly asking for my attention while I am doing something and there is someone else available who is not doing anything. Can we figure out a different way to handle this? Because I don't want to feel this overwhelmed all the time. Okay, so you notice I didn't say when you are doing nothing, when you're being lazy, when you are just sitting there as if you don't notice, okay? Like they might not notice, first of all, because guys are really good at tuning things out. So we don't want to make any assumptions, right? We just want to bring awareness to the issue and say, hey, okay, how can we collaborate to figure this out? Because at the end of the day, what you want is changed behavior. And creating change is going to be more successful by just raising awareness around the issue and asking for collaboration rather than bringing up the issue, pointing fingers, making them feel bad, and then what, right? So that's all of the kinds of boundaries that every marriage needs to thrive. And I'm going to repeat the different areas that I think would benefit all marriages since I did cover so many. And feel free to hit pause and replay this if you need. But the different areas that every marriage needs boundaries in are emotional boundaries, time boundaries, conflict boundaries, boundaries with people outside of your family. So outside of you, your spouse, and your kids. So your family, your in-laws, friends, and also digital and privacy boundaries. Okay. All of this is going to help protect and strengthen your marriage. These are connection tools, right? They're not walls to build up to keep your spouse out of your connection, to keep you and your spouse apart, okay? Every couple needs boundaries around these areas. And yes, if you're new to setting boundaries, it can feel awkward, but it's one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself and your relationship because it all begins with being intentional, okay? So I invite you to reflect on one boundary that your marriage might be missing and have a conversation with your spouse this week, okay? If you are experiencing resentment, a loss of connection, difficulty communicating with each other, then boundaries could very well be the answer to your marriage issues, okay? If that's the case, book a clarity call with me. I would love to help, and I'll pop the link in the show notes. All right, that's it for this episode. I hope that you enjoyed this and I hope you take action because really listening to these episodes and not taking action is not going to change anything in your marriage, okay? So whether it be you go do this thing on your own or you think, oh gosh, I don't even know how to begin and I need support, and you book that clarity call with me, I want you to do something, okay? You do not need to continue experiencing this cycle of resentment, frustration, arguing, and disconnect, okay? All of that can go away when you know exactly how to handle your marriage and how to help it thrive, even while you're knee deep in raising kids. And I would love to help you if you are ready for that next step to get support. If you know someone that could use this episode, please share this with them. And if you've been listening to the show and you love it, I would so appreciate it if you leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I would so appreciate that. That's what helps this show grow. That's what helps other people like you find this show. And that's it. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please send me a message over on Instagram at Michelle Perta Coaching to let me know what you loved most about it. Hearing from my listeners is my absolute favorite. And if you've been loving this podcast, please leave a rating and review. This will help people like you find the show and get the help they need. Catch you here on the next episode. Bye.